It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. We, he, and me. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And it's Friday's show. So, I was driving in thinking, well, what's the theme of this week? Insanity.
Yep, same as last week.
Same as last week.
I predict same as next week.
But we've got to clean the desk. We want the desk clean by the time we get out of here on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And so this may be a potpourri, a smorgasbord of different topics out there in audio cuts. I want to play this audio cut. This is an audio cut from Arizona, where you had Representative Alexander Kolodin, who's part of the Arizona state government. He was asking three Democrat lobbyists, talking about voting, whether you should be an American citizen in order to vote in Arizona's election. And this is what, when we talked about Minneapolis or whatever, we said nobody on the left is willing to answer any questions about how they would want to actually do things.
Right.
They riot, they throw out labels, but they don't tell you precisely what they would want. And this is another case of this. Listen to this. Here we go.
Do you believe that people should have to be United States citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
I'm representing an organization, and I'm speaking to this bill. I've shared those sentiments.
Does the organization you're here representing believe that people should have to be United States citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
That's a question that I have to go back for that very specific question to get the response, because I don't know.
Mr. Chair, that's not an answer.
It is not.
My name is Jody Lee. I'm here on behalf of Lucha.
Does Lucha believe that people should have to be citizens of the United States in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
I believe that I don't have an answer from that directly from Lucha. And I think certainly they believe all taxpayers should have access to democracy.
That was quite a word salad. People who are non-citizens who are working in Arizona, whether they're here legally or illegally, pay taxes. Does Lucha believe that non-citizens should be able to vote in Arizona just because they pay taxes?
I don't feel comfortable making a definitive statement on behalf of the organization.
Hi, sorry, Caitlin Contreras with the ACLU.
Is it the position of the ACLU that people should have to be U.S. citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
It is the ACLU's position that voting should be fair and accessible and to everyone who is eligible.
That would be a U.S. citizen.
Seriously, what the hell?
I know. It can't answer a question.
Do you have conviction? Does your organization have a mission or purpose and position on this? It's a very simple question. And if you don't have conviction on this, right, then you know you're doing the wrong thing. If your organization doesn't have a clear mission as to what they want to achieve, what they want to accomplish, what the organization stands for in part, then what are you doing?
Well, we do know they just can't publicly say it.
Well,
and this
that's the whole thing, is that if you're on the left and you believe illegals should be able to vote, you got to ask yourself, well, these are people that are organizing for that effort. Why can't they say it out loud?
Because
why don't they? Why do they believe it or not?
They know it. They know the public doesn't support it.
Of course.
So they have to do exactly what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They have to label. They have to look at the other side. They got to scream at the other side. You had Jay Inslee, former governor of Washington State. I don't know if he even knew what he was saying, because they live in their own little bubble. And at times it's like, do you understand the internet exists? But we played the audio cut yesterday where he came straight out and said, having ICE near polling stations, again, will keep people from voting. The response was, who?
Right. If you're there and you are legally able to vote, you're not going to be detained by ICE, and you're not going to be deterred by ICE and their presence there.
Because this was about about federal elections,
right?
It was the SAVE Act, and he again he was making it clear when they said, okay, yeah, maybe we'll put the president said maybe we'll put ICE. I think it was the president who said, I think we'll put ICE near polling places to ensure that illegals can't vote, and they went crazy. They want illegals to vote.
Right.
They made the case that Inslee made the case that Democrats have been screaming for years is a conspiracy theory.
Well, and a years-long effort by the left to block voter ID.
Yeah.
In every way.
Somebody asked Mark Kelly on that the other day too, and he tried to squirm out of it. Man, he's got, something? He's got googly eyes too.
Yeah. Makes you wonder what happens in space.
We got to the whole googly eye. We got to the whole googly eye thing somehow.
It's
earlier.
It is insane. But the Democrats, look, we all know what you're trying for the left. All of us on the other side know what you're trying to do. You may not be saying it out loud, but we are. And you can't deny it. You can't even answer the question.
Yeah. Because when it comes down to it, and it'll be really interesting to see how the radicals respond to Homan or how they respond, because I'm going to play a couple of audio cuts from Homan yesterday in Minneapolis. Tom Homan held a press conference. And what he's saying here when he said, I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there was going to be bloodshed, and there has been. But here's two audio cuts from him yesterday. Here we go.
I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations.
That was one audio cut. Here's one where he, a little bit more of an audio cut, where he talks about that he had a really good meeting with the Attorney General. That's Ellison. He's as radical as you can get. And he's clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks. Here it is.
I'm also pleased to announce I had a very good meeting with Attorney General Ellison, and he has clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks so ICE can take custody of them upon their release from the jail. And let me tell you why that's important. I know people are a lot concerned about the manpower has been set in law enforcement manpower. Look, I've said this many times before. I've said it for the last several years. Give us access to the illegal alien public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail. It's common sense. It's safer for the community, it's safer for the agent, and it's safer for the alien. Because anything can happen on a street arrest. It just makes common sense. And for the people that argue, well, we're a welcoming community because we want victims and witnesses of crime that are here illegally to feel safe to come to police without fear they're working with ICE, we're not going to talk to the victim and witness of crime. There's no problem there. They should feel safe to come to police and ask for help. All we want is to talk to the person that local and state law enforcement authorities locked in a jail cell. They chose to lock this person up. That's who we want to talk to, the public safety threat. So the argument is that protects victim witnesses of crime. It's a bunch of crap. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in their neighborhood either. So great progress with the Attorney General and local sheriffs. And one thing, when we have these agreements, it takes less law enforcement agents to do the job. One agent can arrest one bad guy in the safety and security of a jail where he's behind the wire. We know we don't have weapons. But when you normally release that public safety threat, illegal alien back in the community, we have a job to do. We're going to arrest him. So we're going to find him. And what happens is now we got to arrest somebody on his turf who has access to who knows what weapons. Now we got to send the whole team out. Cover the back door, cover the front door, officer safety reasons. Then because of the hateful rhetoric and the attacks on ICE officers, now we got to send a security team behind the arrest team. So what could have been done with one person in a safety and security jail, now we got 15, 16 people out there doing it.
We have said this over and over again, that if you're a Republican and you're a conservative Republican, what you have to do, and by the way, Trump won because he did this. You have to promote a conservative agenda or the Republican agenda, because not all Republican agenda is conservative. So the Republican conservative agenda, once you convince, as the president did, to independents and many minorities, you've got to continue that when you become president. You've got to always focus on the goal is to take what we believe and not every single day attempt to appease the already converted. You already got them. They're there. The whole goal is communicating effectively with independents. You're not going to win Democrats because they're so incredibly radical. You've already got Republicans. The goal always has to be not to win every single the battle, and this is where the mistake is. And man, we've gone over this over and over again. You and I, we've talked about it with people that disagree with us on it. The goal, as we said with Trump, you don't need to win every battle with the left. That's not who you're trying to. You're never going to get their support. The goal should always be focused on the independent that has already looked at you, and by the polls, your own internal polls, agrees with you on the issues. You need to make sure that how you communicate with them keeps them aboard and on your team. That's the only goal of politics.
Well, and on top of that, given the healthy pace that we have seen on every front by this administration in the second term, Trump's second term, and also given the support that he has for his party that is much stronger than it was during his first term. If you take all of the static out of it and focus even more and control, again, the conversation, the messaging, and there has to be some controlling of the effort. Some things are going to have to change. By the way, they know that. It's why there's certain things they're not bringing up right now, not talking about, because we're in the midterm season full on. But if you can control the static and refocus on the effort, this could be a record-breaking term for an American president, let alone it being for specifically Donald Trump, which would mean good things ultimately, obviously, for the country. That's what all of us who support him want. But you're going to have your party with you in the second half of your second term. Otherwise, none of it happens.
And we know you have to have your aides out there promoting, every president does, your aides promoting what the agenda is. But when it comes to running it, you want a professional like Homan.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, straight to the point. It's not going to be
pragmatic.
Right.
It's about the job.
Well,
it's about the mission.
If the other side's going to use over-the-top rhetoric. The belief that you need to do the same thing to tie them is wrong.
Exactly.
The whole point is you don't want to
Right.
be them, and you want to point out to the American public, I'm not going to do this kind of this rhetoric's ridiculous. We all know we're enforcing the laws of the United States that come from we the people. There's no fascism here. And this doesn't help. And I told you way back then this was going to happen, and that's what he said. And he said, look, still we have a responsibility of illegal immigrants in this country. If they're in here and we catch them, they're going to have to leave. The message he put forward is the only thing we need the local governments for is when they have, as he said, they've got criminals
Right.
or people who have been arrested. Then cooperate with us, they're out. When it comes to illegal immigrants with deportation orders, or it comes to illegal immigrants in general, they don't need any cooperation from the local government.
Right.
They don't even have to be involved in it at all. And I think that's what that's what he believes was done wrong, and it was right for the president to put him in.
Yeah, I think so.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so-called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, we'll play part of one of the Super Bowl commercials coming up. And also Trump expected to pick Kevin Warsh as a Fed chair, and the latest from the Senate on what type of health care deal it looks like they're in agreement on in the Senate. We'll get to that. What was that you just told me about in Florida?
Yeah, from the New York Post, a Florida nurse gives up his license after saying he won't perform anesthesia on MAGA patients.
Is that going to be on the questionnaire? Are you a MAGA patient?
Well, there's the question. Do you just look like a MAGA patient? Where's the judgment line by the person that's in that moment in charge of your health?
That's scary.
This is scary as hell.
Yeah.
Because you're at your most vulnerable in that setting, to the point that you need anesthesia.
Yep.
And this guy who won't be nursing anymore, but saying not going to perform anesthesia on MAGA patients. You put that together with other nurses that we have seen in the news recently. The one who got fired after suggesting targeting ICE agents.
Yeah. In multiple videos.
Yep.
People.
Question is, how big of a problem is this? And
great point.
What other jobs are people in that they have this attitude?
Tell your friends. We're here nightly. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Did we ever talk about? I don't think I played it yesterday because just so much going on this week. Where Mark Halperin was, he does his podcast, and he's somebody that he was he used to be ABC's political director. Mm-hmm. He used to work for the same company that we did.
Right.
And then didn't he got into some trouble for something, right?
Yeah.
Was it harassment or something at work?
Mm.
I met him a couple times. Wasn't very nice. A couple of instances that we had way back then. But he used to be part of our company, and I would interview him at times. And he really has rehabilitated himself in his new podcast. Sean Spicer's on it and everything else. But he was talking about how many, because of his looking at both sides of the issue and being favorable towards Trump when he believes Trump does the right thing or conservatives do the right thing, and criticizing liberals, that he's lost a ton of friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because I have, in 44 years of doing this, I've not lost. There was one person, and you know who that person is, who I just knew sort of casually. And she didn't want to associate with me anymore because she listened to the show and couldn't explain why, was just angry about just the way you are. I was like, okay, fine. Right. But she really wasn't a friend.
Right.
Knew this person more professionally than anything else. But I've never lost one friend.
Right.
Not one. Now, it may be that I didn't come. I mean, even though one half of the family, grandfather McNamara, my dad's father, he was a Democrat, but he was a Democrat a century ago. Now, my grandfather immigrated from Canada, and when he came to the town that I grew up in, which was all Republican, he just thought there ought to be two parties.
Yeah,
and so he was a key factor in the early Democratic Party, but he was as conservative as you can get, and he did not buy into the racism of the Democratic Party or the Jim Crow laws, nothing like that at all, because my grandfather, and I only found this out within the last decade, I did not know this because he never mentioned it when he was alive to me, and my father never mentioned it. My grandfather came from Canada to the United States because of the unbelievable racism and bigotry against Irish Catholics in Ontario. I think he came in 1910, maybe 1910, 1912, and he came strictly because the discrimination against the Irish Catholics was huge. I had to do research on it. I was like, is that true? It was true. And so he just said, no, I'm not, I'm not going to be a part of that. But my family, the brothers and sisters, when I look at my father's brothers and sisters, probably as they got older, a few of them changed and became more conservative, probably 70% conservative, 30% liberal. There were 10 kids in the family, so. And even though, Democrat, not really, socially, probably everybody is a conservative.
Okay.
Maybe it was some of the fiscal stuff. But never had a family fight, even though we've had discussions on it at family reunions. Not now, back maybe 15, 20 years ago, but not now much anymore. I do remember my one cousin's husband coming up to me, and this is when this had to be 2016, 2017, when Trump first got in. He said, well, he goes, I'm as liberal as you can get. And he just said, my father's a huge Trump fan. My father's not a racist.
Yeah.
And so we've never had that. It isn't the insanity. Even the Democrats that I know that have been friends for the longest time, we probably don't discuss politics anymore. Now, as you get older, you don't deal with them as much. You move, and when you talk to each other, it's like, how you doing? How's the family? You never get to that particular point. But they know what I do, and I've never lost one friend, ever. So,
right.
But Halpern probably had a lot more liberal friends, since I believe at one point he was a Democrat liberal.
Yeah, right.
But I still find that interesting. He goes, yeah, I've lost some people, just, good friends who just don't ever want to associate with me again. I'm like, wow.
That tends to be the case, that it's really the liberal friends that will abandon you. And it doesn't matter if you're liberal. If you're not liberal enough, they're gone.
Yeah.
I have friends who don't agree 100%. It's never gotten in the way of any of my friendships.
But who does? I mean, who agrees 100% with anybody? That's an unreal.
I'm not sure I agree with me 100%.
I see you fighting with yourself over there.
You see me talking to myself all the time.
Exactly.
My kids worry, but it's
your insane self versus your sane self.
Well, I think I'm wrong sometimes. But the problem, and I'm going to set myself straight. But and there's the issue. You look at it and saw a clip of Matt Damon and his heterosexual life partner, Ben Affleck, on Joe Rogan. And Matt Damon, of all people, very liberal guy, talking about, and I think it was because he was sitting there with Rogan, knowing that Rogan supported Trump. But he was talking about they were talking about entertainment in general and the kind of entertainment we consume. And, they were both saying, we in our older age, we now understand nobody really cares about you. Nobody really cares, gives a blank about you. And what Matt Damon was saying, what I tend to like is long-form conversations where people are actually having a conversation. He says, I listen to things that are the opposite point of view, but it's a conversation. Well, the radical left can't have that. So if you sit down with them, and inevitably, where does it go? Like if you had a radical friend or acquaintance and you were to sit down and talk to them about, I don't know, the economy or immigration or, any of it, then ultimately it gets to name calling. Even if they're not calling you a name, they're calling someone else a name. And then they're going to, it's going to be the virtue signaling. And then it's going to be the I'm the victim thing, and this whole thing has been very traumatic for me, and blah, 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 and they can't have a simple conversation. That is not a trait that is unique to just a few individuals on the left. It's a culture. And I can't tell you if it's a lot of it is a learned behavior because it's a tactic. But it's also a mindset of a totally different kind of brain. And I don't need to agree with that person. I also don't need that person to agree with me or admit anything.
Well, I'll give you the perfect example. No, I do not believe that a man can be a woman because the man says so. Well, you're transphobic. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Does it mean I don't care? Well, of course I care if somebody, no, you're transphobic. Why am I transphobic? Don't you understand that transgenders have the highest rate of suicide? What does that have to do with my comment that biologically and scientifically, it can't biologically, is scientifically, it's not the case. That's scientifically proven. Yeah, but don't you understand that if you say that they're more likely to commit suicide? Well, then there's a mental health problem here. See your bigotry? You say there's a mental health problem. No, you're communicating to me that there's a mental health problem. You can't even agree on the talking points because they have to deflect it, because my response would be, well, I really do care about anybody. If anybody is confused as to their gender, and I believe some people are, and it gets to the point where they may commit suicide because I don't agree with them, well, then there is a mental health issue here, and I would like to have that person get whatever help they need. Forget about the gender part of it for the moment. I don't want them committing suicide. So I'm not going to enable a minor who is having those thoughts and telling them that they can cut off a body part.
Right.
Well, that opinion that I just expressed, most people would say, well, yeah, but the vast majority say, yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I've dealt with it with a family member, whatever, yes. But the fact is, I don't have to agree to something that isn't true in order not to be a Nazi.
Right.
And so that's the part, the communication part of it. Do they really wish to communicate the issue, or do they simply, when you disagree with them, simply wish to label you the worst in the worst label in the history of humanity?
Well, that's it. If because where it is a tactic, it is that labeling, and if they can do that, they know, they believe that if they can do that, it shuts down the conversation. Because you see them that if they can't shut down the conversation, if the other side is persistent in any given scenario, they scream and then ultimately walk out like it's a mic drop moment. When it's not, they just don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any problem defending what I believe in any scenario. I don't. I don't need to bring emotion into it. I do have family members who agree with me, and they look at me and go, it's interesting because you and I are very passionate about what we believe, but when you do this long enough professionally, then and I've done it unprofessionally for most of my career. When you do it long enough, you understand, you know that in terms of your approach, it's not emotion. And it can't be emotionally driven. But for my family members who are conservative and they go, I don't know how you don't lose it. Well, it's not about emotion. It's about ideas. And these ideas remain from the foundation of this very founding of this nation. Here we are, 250 years later, and we're still at it and still fighting for the same thing.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just very quickly, Trump expected later on today to pick Kevin Warsh, a former Fed Board governor, as the next Fed chair. That wouldn't happen at least until May, though. Right. Also, the Senator Morano said that the Republicans in the Senate have their, final offer to Democrats. It would be an extension of 2 years, but moving away from it with, hell, as you and I predicted would happen, but slowly evolving away from it, and also the Hyde Amendment would stay.
Yeah, the president posted last night that they've got a deal.
Yeah, so
and the DHS funding for a couple of weeks, and we'll see where.
But this is on
DHS
this is
funding.
Specifically on Obamacare, which was separate from it, is what I'm.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean a total deal and agreement.
The Budweiser Super Bowl commercial, just to show you how much the culture has changed there. You ready? To put Freebird in is a change of culture of where Budweiser was a couple of years ago. But there's the horse, and these birds are like flying. A bird is on the back of the horse and then flies off, falls off, and then finally the last bird is an American eagle. As the horse is coming towards you, all of a sudden this American eagle takes off from the horse right there. So it's USA Freebird.
Those are liberal ad agency writers saying, how in the hell do we get men back to drink our products? We need an American Eagle, we need horses, and we need Freebird, the song. There you go.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.